More and more people are working from the home. The coronavirus has escalated the need for people to work from their dining rooms, their spare bedrooms, or their kitchen tables. The thing is, people still need to be effective when they're working remotely. Hi, I'm John Arnott. I'm the founder of a 100% virtual organization, and I can tell you it can be done. In fact, not only will your team be productive when they're working remotely, but they'll likely be even more productive. The challenge is, there are things that you need to do beforehand to ensure this level of productivity. There are two areas that need to have additions and changes. The first is there are some tools that you need to do this successfully. And the second is there are changes to your culture that need to be implemented. In this video, I'm going to walk through the tools that you can use to be successful working with a virtual team and the cultural changes and the impact on the people those will have. So stay tuned for that. One of the things that occurs when somebody moves from working in an office environment to working virtually is that feeling of separation. They've gotten accustomed to interacting with people, and now they're completely separate. Yes, there might be people, family members, others around them, but that's not the same thing as being in the office environment. So what you have to do is have a plan and some tools in place to ensure that they feel connected. And the way to do that in a transition is through video. Much like you're seeing now, each person should have the capability to interact through video with their other team members, no matter what their location. This can be accomplished with many different software platforms. You can use dedicated platforms like Skype or Google Meet, or you can use tools like GoToMeeting, or you can use integrated tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams. These tools facilitate video, but some of these tools also allow for you to collaborate on documents, to have chat, and other interactions that are critical to being successful. For example, in Microsoft Teams, it's very easy to have a video conversation. If you look at your screen right now, you'll see that I have a chat going on in Teams, a conversation with a coworker that we're interacting. And in the upper right-hand corner, if at any given time I just want to call that person, I click the phone icon. If I want to have a video conference, I click the video icon. And when we're having those conversations at any given time, I can just go ahead and share my screen. It allows us to collaborate so much more efficiently. Screen shares and video with a teammate over a tool like Microsoft Teams is so much more productive than if you walk up to somebody's desktop and look over their shoulder and see what they're doing. And we find we collaborate really well this way. In addition, tools like Teams and Slack also have the concept of channels. What does that mean? What it means is for every department or project or client, however your company is organized, you can have something called a team. And in that team, you have membership. They are the employees, contractors, other people that interact with each other on a given project or in a given department. And you assign those individuals access to those teams. And it's really great because you can then organize your collaborations and your conversations into manageable components. For example, on the screen right now, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner, I have some activity. In fact, this little red circle with a 2 means that in 2 instances, somebody has called out my name, either to let me know about something, to ask a question, or to continue a conversation that we were having before. And I click on this and it takes me to a project that's underway. And this project is for one of our clients, and I'm interacting with a software developer on this. And we're sharing some information back and forth about how things are going. In this case, he responded to an inquiry that I had about something that needed to be remedied. And he even shared a screenshot with me. Now, if we went back and forth several times, this is where there's maybe a cultural shift, where once you've gone back and forth 5, 6 times, it might be worthwhile just having a phone call. That could be just voice, or that could be a video conference where we see each other and share our common screen. And this is a really great method to share information and to interact with each other, and it works every bit as well as if you were in the office together. Now, your organization might already have Office 365, Outlook, tools like that, And you may already have the capabilities to show your status. Well, status is away, at lunch, free, in a meeting. Those are statuses. When you move to a virtual organization, when you have people working remotely, it's really good practice to use those all the time. When you're leaving the desk, set it to away. Or of course, you could just log out as well. If you're going to lunch, just set it to lunch. And if you have meetings, make sure those meetings are scheduled in your shared calendar so that when somebody is looking at your icon in a tool like Teams, they will see your status. They'll see if you're available. If you're already in a meeting, they'll know you're in a meeting, that you can't respond right away. This is a really good way to keep up with each other and who's available at any given time so that the conversations and discussions continue going. Now, when you use Teams for communication, you can chat like you would with text messaging or even email, where you're just interacting, going back and forth. And that's fine and good. But it doesn't benefit the organization if the dialogues are just between individuals. Chat's a great feature, but to benefit the whole organization, it's better to have conversations within a channel. We talked about a team as an organization of individuals who are working on something in common. The idea of a channel is that this is a place where even two parties of that, members of that team, could communicate with each other, but all the other members of the team can see that dialogue if they choose. It's kind of like in the old days when we would use email for all of our conversations. And what did you do? You CC'd everybody who could possibly have an interest in it. Well, we all know that is a very impractical way to work today. CCing 10 people on a series of emails, at some point they will just get ignored by those that are CC'd, and it really doesn't benefit anyone. Same concept here though, but now it's at the discretion of the person who is a member of the team who's not called out to go look back and see if there's anything else they missed. What I'll do is I'll go into a team right now. I'm going into a team for a book that we're about to publish called Measurable Results. And as you can imagine, there are different people with different roles that are a part of that team. We have graphic design, we have writing, we have copywriting, we have editorial. We have all these different roles, and they're all members of this team. And as you can see through the posts, we're just having conversations where we are working on a document together, we are asking questions, and all of those interactions are stored. All of those exist for others to go review later, if they choose. And as these conversations evolve, with the Teams component, the document that we're collaborating on is actually a file in a file repository. We're not doing that way where you would take a document, edit it in Word, upload it, version 1, upload it, version 2, and then get to the point where it says final, and then final, and then final. You don't collaborate that way anymore. In a tool like Teams, the way I'm going to collaborate is we're all going to work on a common file. Sometimes we may be editing it at the exact same time. What's great about that though is even though I can find all of those files that we're working and using to collaborate in the file section of that team, within the post, those conversations, we can discuss that individual file and make changes to it so that others can see what's going on with the file. It's a really good way to collaborate on documents in a single tool. When you're working with other team members, it's often common to ask them to do something for you. Could you do this for me? Could you do that? What we try to do though with remote organizations is avoid using the chats and the posts in a channel as a method of assigning tasks. Yes, you could ask somebody to do something for you, but if it's a continual effort where you're continually adding new tasks for somebody to do and you're doing it through conversation, at some point those will get lost. Either the request for it will be lost and you won't be able to keep up with what you assigned, or the task itself gets lost and the person you wanted to do that task doesn't have it queued anywhere. So we encourage virtual organizations especially to have some form of task management. Now that could be a tool like Monday or Basecamp. We use a tool called Asana. It doesn't really matter, there are many really good ones out there. But look to separate your task management from your discussions. So if you use a tool like Teams or Slack, and you want somebody to do something for you and it requires some detailed explanation, what we do is we might say in Teams, hey, I'm calling you out because I created a task for you in Asana. Here's the link to it. Could you go work on it? Now your task management system or your project management system has the detail in it for follow-up, and it has the pieces in it that the person doing the task needs, and it shows up in the work queue that they have going forward, and it doesn't get lost in conversation, much like a task would get lost if it gets sent through email, or much like a task can get lost if it's sent through a text message. Those are some of the tools that you'll need to be effective. Now let's talk a little bit about people and culture. When you are separated, it tends to feel isolated. Also, it's really challenging to know what's on someone's mind when you don't actually see them or bump into them. Sometimes you don't even know if they're around. We encourage over-communication, having conversations, being detailed, sharing information. In the channel in Teams for any given organizational component, whether it's a project, a client, or a department, we want to make sure that all of the members of that team are sharing information that's important to others. And so encouraging over-communication is important. And this is important because we kind of got away from that in businesses. We got to a point where we were getting just way too much email. So then we got to a point where emails became shorter, more sparse, and sometimes not even sent. And the method of kind of keeping the contact going was face-to-face. You bump into each other in the hallway. You see each other at a meeting. You happen to have lunch together. Information is conveyed that way. When you are 100% remote, when different team members are working at different times a day in different geographies, well, that changes things. And so a culture of over-communication is really important. And to that, a culture of gratitude is critical. Team members need to be appreciative of one another. And the way you convey gratitude is very simple. If somebody conveys something to you, shares something with you, or does something for you, and they've communicated that in a channel, you want to say thank you. It's an acknowledgement. Now, you don't always have to say the words thank you. We have gotten accustomed to using text messages where we use emojis and emoticons to convey our appreciation. Something as simple as a thumbs up is a great way to show that you've had some sort of communication, you've appreciated it. On the screen you'll see right now there's an interaction where Kathleen and I are talking. Kathleen shares something, I give her a thumbs up. I thank her, she gives me a thumbs up, she makes a comment, I give a smile. These little tiny details make a big difference in facilitating communication between the members of the team. So it's really important culturally to work from the aspect of gratitude is conveyed via a smile in a hallway to gratitude is more explicitly conveyed either through the words thank you or through using emoticons and emojis to express your gratitude. The cultural component is around trust. The team members need to implicitly trust each other that they will get their work done. They're not seeing each other, and oftentimes trust is gained just by seeing each other on a consistent basis. When you're remote and you're not seeing each other on a consistent basis, the only way you're seeing them is by their communication online, is by their giving a thumbs up, it's by their thanks. So when you're building this culture, you have to make sure that you're building a culture of trust, where people are responsive to each other, they're communicating to each other. Those team members that are not communicative online, those are the ones that tend to be less forgiven when something falls through the cracks. And that's because it's that aspect of trust that gets conveyed. At the end of the day, trust is earned when people do what they say they're going to do. And the only way you really know somebody did what they say they were going to do is through communication when you're running a remote organization. The last thing I'd say about culture is even though you're remote, even though you're in your house, treat the workday like a workday. When you get up in the morning, take the shower, get ready for the day. Get dressed. Now on this conversation, I'm wearing a dress shirt. What you don't realize is I'm also wearing shorts. You can still be comfortable, but you want to treat it as a work day. You hear a lot about people falling out of bed and going to their computer and just starting their day. Well, yeah, a lot of people do that, but that's not a great way to make your workday effective. You want to have a beginning of your workday, and that usually involves getting ready. Whether that's starting with your morning run or your morning coffee, taking your shower and getting going, or what other ritual you have. And the other thing is, make sure that your team members find a way to end their day. Whether it's logging off, turning the computer completely off, whatever ritual they need to do, make sure that they do that. Now, with a remote workforce, the upside is that you can have a lot more flexibility in when people work. People can start earlier or work later and have gaps during the day. Setting expectations on when people should be available online is really important. Give them the flexibility to work when they are at their best, but make sure that there's an understanding of when they're expected to be online in case there are critical interactions that need to occur either via chat or video. Now, I'm giving a lot of advice on how to be effective with remote organizations, but I have to say, this is not for everyone. People who work really well independently absolutely love working like this. Social butterflies have a little bit more trouble. And when you're assessing your team and you're determining who, if you have that option, can work remotely, look closely at what gives them energy. Those that get their energy out of getting something done, oh my gosh, they're going to do so well working remotely. Those that get their energy around bumping into each other in the break room, having some water or a coffee or a snack and just chatting about the latest sitcom that they saw, you got to find a way for them to be able to work remotely because they won't get as much of that interaction, so they're going to have to find it a different way. And I would encourage you to have some form of channel, call it a bulletin board, call it whatever you want, some place where people can share the trips they've taken, or since we're traveling a little less now, the funny things that have happened to them. And this way, those people that are a little bit more social and need that more social interaction can use that type of channel that way. And also encourage people to maintain the same social lives they had after work that they did before they worked remotely, so they have that good separation of work from the non-work hours. I'm going to be putting together a weekly webinar, online meeting, whatever you want to call it, where business owners can just get on, talk about what they're doing with their remote teams, and ask questions of me and of each other. Together we can collaborate on what's working best, and I think a call like this will make it really helpful. So keep an eye out for an invitation. If you go to the bottom in the show notes, you'll see that I put a link where you can see when these are scheduled. Follow the link, take a look, and if you want to join us, register, and then we'll see you on that. I'm hoping this is very helpful. I'm really wishing you all the best in deploying your remote workforce, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.